welcome to the Brand Story Challenge. This is Felicia Hester and I will be your coach. So following this blueprint will give you the tools needed to connect your story to your brand so that you can increase your revenue by effectively communicating, of course, with your ideal client. Let's get started. So why do you need a brand story, right? That's probably your main question. Well, the purpose of this challenge is to help you format your story. See, your story is your message, and it is indeed your brand. It is the most important thing to get a customer or client to want to go further with you. You are your brand. It doesn't matter what industry you are in, you are the messenger of your business. Now, sharing your story in an effective way creates a personal relationship to you as the brand representative. And that in turn creates a personal relationship with your brand. Now, nothing is more motivating and inspiring than a personal story. So it's the core of everything you do to promote and grow your business. You can't just tell your story though. There's a very specific way to share. So you're probably wondering, how do you share your brand story? Well, the specific strategy to sharing your story so that you come across as real and vulnerable to your audience has a few key components that we are about to go over. One thing to remember is that you want to make sure that you are real and vulnerable because that makes a strong connection. Your story needs to relate to your product also. You can have 10 different stories, and many of us do if we've lived for any amount of time, but we need to just make sure that it relates to the product that you're indeed trying to sell or the service that you are offering. So in the challenge, I'm going to teach you how to design and blueprint your story so that it shares your journey, so that your audience sees you as their hero, and that's called the hero's journey, so that it attracts customers to what you have, and so that it creates and grows your brand. Now, crafting your story, okay? Well, today we're going to go ahead and discuss how to craft it. One of the top questions that I always get is, how long should my story be? Well, there isn't one answer to that question because it will depend. You will need to have a 90-second version if you are at a network setting or sharing in conversation with someone. A 3 to 4 minute version if you're sharing online for a webinar, and somewhere around a 6 to 15 minute version if you're speaking in front of a small group of people, and then a 50-minute version if you want to speak to a large group of people from stage. If you're anything like me, then your story may be the hardest part of your entire business. So when I first started, my original story was 20 minutes long. Yes, 20. I could have held a small stage with that. So the problem was that all of it was important to me because it was all part of how I became who I am. And to separate from any part of it, in my mind, was separating from an important part of what made up my story and made me who I am. So I was totally wrapped up in all the details, and it was almost impossible for me to narrow it down. So I shared it with someone who coached me through it. They weren't connected at all, and they were able to give me great feedback and help me condense it into the portions I needed. So if you have Voxer access to me, remember this is something that I can help you with. Now, the most common blueprint for crafting a story that pulls people in is called the hero's journey, and it is the structure used in every single Hollywood movie. If you've not printed off your PDF from the email I sent you, then you can go ahead and do that now by clicking the link in the slide. Now, I'm hoping that that's working. We'll have to test that out after a while. But if it doesn't work, please refer back to your email. Now, what do you do when you watch a movie? This is something I want to give you to think about. You are in the movie, right? You relate to the character, you see yourself in parts of the character, and you want your audience to relate to you so that they can also relate to what you have. So a good story must have a few key components. There's a rhythm to telling the story. This will take practice. This is not done accidentally. You need to be vulnerable so that your audience relates to you as indeed a real human. Now, the hero's journey part of it has some key components. There is a call, a search, a pit, a breakthrough, the return, the resolution and change from the journey, and the ripple effect. Crafting your story is all about event telling with sequence and intention. That's what we are going to go over in the following slides. So we're going to start with rhythm. You want to tell your story like you're narrating a movie. When giving the moment that it started, you need to be confident and reflective. And when you reflect, it can be told in past tense. Remember, you were in your known world, your status quo. You remember that from the video that you watched in the link I sent you. So as you get to the point where there is a something, pause as if you're reflecting on that, and then tell what happened. The pause is for effect and processing. And the rhythm will repeat through every story or every snippet of the story that you tell. So for me, I would say, there we are, The Perfect Marriage by textbook standard. Early summer, us as late teens, falling in love, saying I do, starting our family by 20. I stay at home with the kids for about 15 years, take care of the house while he works. We're a good team, I thought. From the beginning, he was jealous and controlling. He said it was because he loves me so much and knows how men are. So he just wants to protect me. I'm happy to be loved so much. He always tells me how great he is, and I agree. I'm a lucky lady. I learned that I can work from home, behind my computer, and not be in the workplace with other men. This can be a good thing for our family. I could still take care of my kids and make extra money too. And if I can make extra money, he can get the break that he deserves. So I start my journey of internet marketing, not knowing anything at all. I am challenging my brain and stretching my limits, but I love every second of it. It's actually quite exciting and teaching me about a whole new world that I didn't know existed, and people who were so nice and willing to help. Some don't even know me. What is this world I've found? It's not long before he doesn't like the time I'm spending studying and learning. He gets really upset that I'm not spending more time with him. And if I dare share anything about a new friend who helped me learn something new, well, it better be a woman or I'm going to catch hell. Problem is, well, this is a very man-dominated space. He reminds me that they don't really want to help me. They just see a pretty face and they're trying to make their way in. Well, this makes me feel like I'm not worthy of genuine kindness, and maybe he's right. All the other men are dogs. Now, could you feel the rhythm between my two moments? I started confident and then moved into reflective, and then I moved into excitement tone when I was telling you about my journey into starting internet marketing. Now, it's definitely a challenge to keep present tense. In the slide, you'll notice it says that you can be past tense. You can be past tense at the very beginning when you're kind of reflecting, but you want to make sure that you're telling the majority of the story in present tense. Think of it like a movie. When you're watching the movie, the characters are not in the past, they're in the present. And that's definitely going to be a challenge. I edit when I'm telling parts of my story that I need to tell. I have to make sure that I edit and go back and put it into present tense, because it definitely makes you have to do it with intention. It's not accidentally done. And something else to keep in mind, that if I was telling this on video and I really wanted to get deeper into the videography of this, then we could go even deeper into telling it like a movie script and add music to it. So you would add string for emotion, and then piano if you're moving into the next event. And then if there's a breakthrough, then you can add like, some singing or some elevated music tone. You want to think theatrics. Now, it isn't necessary at first. I just thought I would throw that in there as a bonus in case you wanted to go for it. You all come in here with different skills and talents, and if that's your thing and you want to try it, then I encourage you to definitely go for it. Vulnerability is the next thing. Vulnerability is going to a place and being open and honest with people about who you are and not being afraid to share those pit and low moments. Now, remember, it reminds your audience that you were just like them. I know it's not somewhere that we all want to go, depending on what our story is, but I'm sure there's parts of it that you can pull out to still make sure that you keep that vulnerability. Now, remember, it's a hero's journey, so sharing that makes you brave, and your audience will definitely appreciate that. Vulnerability is power. When sharing your vulnerability moment, keep it in the present tense. Don't say, I remember when I was. Instead, say, there I am. You want to paint a picture of in the moment. So for me, I would say, no matter what he says, I'm refusing to not quit. I know I have a song in my soul, and I will not die with my songs trapped inside of me. It's hard when I'm being accused of things I'm not doing, and it seems like nothing I do is right. I decide that it's worth the effort to keep trying to show him what kind of a woman I am. 20 years of marriage is a very long time, and it's worth it. He'll see. I make a hard push to silence his complaints, like a runner on that last stretch, giving energy that they don't know they have. And there I am, a beautiful spring day, standing in the garage, hearing him accuse me yet again of making him suspicious because I was being too good to him. And just as plain as you and I having a conversation, I hear a voice in my soul tell me that it doesn't matter what I do. It will never be good enough. And at that moment, the veil is removed from my eyes. See how powerful that is? Telling in the present tense transports you into that space with me. You saw me standing in the garage. You saw a conversation taking place between a man and a woman. Making a connection. Now, this brings your audience into the experience of the story. This is where they relate to you and why your story is so important. Did you connect to any part of my story? Maybe it's you, or maybe it's a friend or a relative, or maybe you can relate in some other way. This is the power of a well-told story. The call is the next part of the journey. This is what prompted you into the journey and out of your status quo. Okay? There has to be a dilemma in order to receive the call. The dilemma is what happened. What made you think, feel, or act a certain way about something? Okay, you can insert whatever that is for you. So for me, I would say, I realized it doesn't matter what I do. It's either not good enough or too good. Either way, I'm dying trying to make someone else happy, and it's just not possible. So here I am, always walking on eggshells, making sure I say and do or don't do. But if I can't win no matter what, then why am I trying so hard to make someone else's happiness my responsibility? That's not my responsibility to be responsible for someone else's total happiness. This isn't okay, and I'm the only one who has the power to change it. So here I just shared with you what prompted me to leave the status quo, my dilemma. This is the pivotal moment where there is a perspective or a reality shift. Think of your overall story. I bet there is one instance that stands out above the rest for you. The obstacle is the way is a phrase you may have heard. Well, your obstacle is your dilemma, and the way is your new path. The search. So when the call happened, what search or journey did it send you on? What did you set out to achieve or find? Was it money? Was it success? Acceptance? Freedom? It could be a number of things. Maybe it was just a new opportunity. So my call is when I realized that it doesn't matter what I do. He's going to complain until I do exactly what he wants me to do. And that's basically not work in any way outside of caring for our family. That was to be my one and only thing I was supposed to do. So my search would go like this. My heart is torn between my 20-year marriage and the song in my soul. Why do I feel like I have to choose one or the other? My faith is the thing I cling to and have for most of my life. Early on, I learned that so much is out of my control and I can't know what the future holds, but God does. So I found the only way to peace in the turmoil of life, when things are totally out of my understanding and control, is to align myself with God. He's my peace giver. So I had to faithfully trust in Him even more. You ever felt like you were in a pitch black room? You just couldn't see? Well, that's what this felt like. I needed answers on if I was supposed to even choose. I needed understanding on what I was dealing with. So I sought out to find answers and understanding in my search. Now, what was the one thing you didn't know about what you needed to know about? Okay, let me tell you that again. What was the thing you didn't know about what you needed to know? Okay, so you need to know something, but there's a piece missing. Okay, that's your search. Think research. You have got to find the answer. Okay, the next thing you're going to move into is the pit. So on your search, what happened that shifted the course you were on to the course you're about to tell as your aha event? Okay, it's usually, not always, but usually a vulnerable, dark moment. Was your pit drugs or alcohol? Could have been an accident, a loss possibly. Maybe it was just an awakening. A lot of times hardships, betrayal, a divorce. Those can all be pit moments. So keep in mind that everyone has a pit moment, okay? And to become vulnerable makes you human and relatable. If you're not seen as human and relatable, you will not earn the trust or likability of your audience. And without trust and likability, you basically, you don't have an audience. Some of this may be difficult to share, but I encourage you to remember the tip that I just went over with you. Many stories have the potential to have more than one pit. This is where the Brand Story course will help you with the details of your own journey and seeing how it relates to your product. You may need to brainstorm and choose which pit moment you will choose to share to relate to your audience and your brand. So in keeping with using your own story as an example for you, keeping with using my own story as an example for you, see, I had two pits. And after I set out on my search for answers and understanding, I knew divorce was the answer. So I shared with you my faith is very important to me. Well, my faith was important to him too because it was his ticket. He always said he would ride my coattail into heaven. But he didn't have a relationship with Christ like I did, and that was a huge problem because our hearts were just not aligned. And our thought processes were, really separate. So when we started dating, he told me he felt like he could be a preacher. He was called to be a preacher. And he told me about some, miracles he had experienced in childhood. But his Bible pages are as crisp today as they were the day it was put on the shelf. I knew that I was going to need to be out of the picture for him to have no one to blame but himself, and hopefully he would find God for himself. So I told him I wanted a divorce. That was pit 1. Let's jump ahead for a second into what comes after the pit. It's the breakthrough. Now, the breakthrough, particular pit that I could tell, is that, he was shocked and he didn't understand. He said he would do anything if I would not go through with it. So we talked and I shared with him how I felt about the things he had been doing and saying, and that I agreed that I wouldn't go through with it if he would agree to get counseling. And he agreed. So that would definitely be a breakthrough. Except I had another pit. So let me share it, and then we will look at which pit would be the better one to share and why. So pit 2. A few moments passed and he never went to counseling. He started passive-aggressively doing some of the same things, and I was starting to see some other things that I had missed before, and I wasn't looking through a veil anymore. So I went to God in prayer, and my spirit kept saying, "Be still." That's the answer I kept getting when I would pray. So for me, that meant don't speak, don't act, don't give him my usual responses to things, just be still. That was the best thing I could have done. When I wasn't feeding him with my responses on his actions, I got the chance to see how he naturally operated, how his heart governed his actions and words. When I realized his true self and the self he wanted me to see weren't the same person, I knew I had only seen the tip of the iceberg. See, people can't change each other's hearts. That's a spiritual change, and it's out of human control. So in my stillness, I was seeing and thinking more clearly than I had even months prior. I poured myself into research and prayer and research and more prayer. I knew I was going to have to rewind myself back to the months prior and file for divorce again, without any more second chances. So I did. And that was pit 2. So I can combine these into one pit, especially for a short story version. If I were sharing from stage, I could pull out both pits and even give the story more color and interest by sharing some key aspects of both pits. You want to remember to keep your story present tense, like a movie. Keep your audience or listener engaged. We don't watch movies in past tense, and our stories shouldn't be in past tense either, okay? So I ran through my 2 pits like I would have if we were chatting over coffee. But when sharing with intention to connect with an audience, we don't want to do it that way. I hope you're starting to already see what this is going to look like for you. If you're not, that's okay too. Your success is my priority, and I can help you with that. So if you have Voxer access, be sure to reach out when you get stuck. And all the details are private, and I hold confidentially as I hold confidentiality as utmost importance. And if you opted to go through with some coaching with me, again, you can be in confidence that that is between you and I, because your success here is what is definitely important to me. Now the breakthrough. The breakthrough is the moment you create success as you define it. That doesn't mean money. That is society's definition of success. The big money, the big job. That is not your definition of success, okay? We're talking about your definition to success in your life. Now, credibility is not just one area of your life that changed, okay? And your breakthrough is your credibility, okay? It's in all areas that changes. Think of it like a rock hitting the water. It's a ripple effect. It's impossible to create change in one area and it just stay in one area. Think about what relationships changed. What about your love life, your family life, your relationship with your kids, maybe your job? What accomplishments came out of your journey? Did you make peace with yourself or someone? Are you seeing your dreams and goals come to life, possibly? There's an impact. Has your desire to make an impact changed? Are you passionate in helping solve a social problem after your call, journey, and breakthrough? Do you want to help others through their hero's journey because of your own journey? Remember when we connect to people on a higher level and connect to relationships and groups and make a difference to mankind? That's when we will receive ultimate fulfillment. Making an impact is what that true fulfillment is. Most people think that if they make money and do something they love, they will receive fulfillment. To me, that's not ultimate fulfillment. There's many people who were thinking, if I do what I love and find my passion and get results, my life will change. Well, many people are doing that right now and they're miserable. So it's only when we connect to people on a higher level and connect to relationships and groups and make a difference to mankind that we will receive ultimate fulfillment. This is why your story is so important. It's how you will make those important and life-changing connections. Uncovering the truth of my story is what has led me to coaching others also uncovering the truth of their stories. It gives us ownership into a deeper sense of who we are and who we want to become. Think of your journey and how you can impact others through your story. I have a favorite saying that's sometimes still on some of my pages. Why do we make things so complicated when all the answers lie in each of our past? We just need to be willing to share it with others. So your next step is to take this information and fill out your worksheet on your own hero's journey. You may need to rewind this video and rewatch it. You may also feel stuck at certain points of your journey, and that's okay. One of my favorite quotes in regards to this is by Gunther Bernard. He said, "We choose to forget who we are, and then we forget we've forgotten." So if you're struggling, you may have some suppressed emotions or memories which you have locked away behind your castle doors. Allow yourself to sink into the truth, and don't be afraid to open those doors to seek out your authentic story. I realize this can be hard. I have had to own parts of my own story that I did not want to face. I have a mini course I've developed using a few techniques which made a massive impact on me. You can visit getreyl.com/mytruth to check that out. The best part of this course is you can do it in privacy and really be honest with yourself. I want this for you because I know it must happen in order for you to embrace the potential that lives inside you. A caged bird cannot fly. Remember, Joseph Campbell said, "In the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." Remember, if you need a friend in adventuring beyond the doors you have closed or caves you do not want to enter, I offer customized coaching services to help you. You can go to the link on this screen and take advantage of those services there. If you have Voxer access, feel free to shoot me any questions you have, and don't forget to watch the video on the hero's journey, also above and in the link in the email I sent you. Your PDF link is also in there if you haven't printed it out already. See you in the next lesson.